why don't you come in and we'll do a podcast, and so you guys can have a little different perspective. And how long have you been in the business?
Since 1994.
Since '94. Did you hear that? Did they have internet in '94?
Well, the browsers did not display pictures at that point.
So he was doing optimization before there were pictures. Wow, that's cool.
Well, I come from the brick and mortar side of the business, and back then there was no SEO company to go to.
Right.
And it was just the emerging of all that.
Right.
Where all of a sudden you can I realize that on InfoSeek, if you remember InfoSeek,
yes,
how you could submit your page, hit refresh, and you could see your page jump. And I'd have wars with my competitors, and we'd be doing this all day. And
wow.
So it grew from there, and we actually had a full-blown SEO department in-house.
Right. And this was for your data retrieval business. So
right.
so some of you guys out there didn't know, and actually learned this morning in kind of our pre-interview. Ken is responsible for a lot of technology associated with being able to retrieve data off of dysfunctional data sources, hard drives specifically. So whenever you've lost that data, and I told Ken one time we lost a hard drive. Well, we had the hard drive still. We couldn't communicate with it. And this is actually a good tip. So I went to, I think the company was Disc Doctors, and they were like, oh, they did this analysis and they got this quote, this big long 2-page quote to me, and it was like $1,400. And I'm like, you know what? I have most of that data. There might be some, like I just don't remember if there's some on there that I don't know if I want, and I'd be willing to pay $400 for that data. Anything over that, I'll just let it go. Guess what? They gave me the data for $400. So there's your tip. If you can actually negotiate with people who pull data off. But Ken apparently came up with a lot of the technology, the processes, and so your initial SEO experience was related to your business and getting that on the first page.
Right. Well, we spent a lot of time in-house because there was nothing going outward to.
Right. There's no one to outsource to
optimize.
Right.
And so we developed in-house, and we had a whole team from copywriters, design, metrics, the whole 9 yards, just in-house.
Awesome.
And what had happened is that when I was approached 7 years ago and sold the business.
Right.
And when I sold the business, we had done such a good job from an optimization standpoint in-house. And we had actually done it for other companies that we knew and we were friends with.
Right.
Well, it's like, what are we going to do now? So we took our whole department, and we have
started an SEO outsourcing company.
Right, because we did it for ourselves. We did it for a handful of others, and very successful.
Right.
We know we can do it for everybody else, and because we were trying to figure out what are we going to do now. We just sold the company.
Right.
Hung around for an extra year during transition, but now what do we do now? You can only sit around for so long.
Right.
Before
you take that 3-month holiday, and then you're like, okay, I want to get back to work. No, I can appreciate that. So in back in '94, you were actually doing it in-house. It was for a company kind of like this. I'm just trying to give an example, kind of like Disc Doctors, a company that would do data recovery. And you did some big projects, which apparently we can't talk about. I noticed on your website, so I went to his website, and your website is searchmarketingprofits.com.
Correct.
Okay.
That's it.
So it's searchmarketingprofits.com, and on one of the pages, this is the 3 steps to internet profitability. You talk about what you call, and I've heard you say this, the 3 get thems. What are the 3 get
Well,
ems?
being from the South and
It's
from
actually
Texas,
get-ems, yeah.
It's pronounced. The correct way to pronounce it is get-ems.
Right.
And so it's the 3 get-ems. We get them qualified visitors to come to your website.
Right.
We get once they're on your website, we get them to take some action, convert in some form or fashion, fill out a form, pick up the phone, purchase something, click a button. There's some type of action we want to occur, and then we want them to come back for more.
Okay. So I think often what we talk about in the podcast is probably the first 2 get-ems, and that's get them to come and get them to take action, because we talk about if you go back to previous podcasts, SEVO, which we call search engine visitor optimization,
Right.
which is okay, great, we can get them there, but what are the calls to action? What are we doing with them? What are we educating them? Are we getting a newsletter? And I know that's what you're talking about, getting them to come back. That's something that I think we probably touched on, but not in kind of a concrete and separate process. Tell me a little bit about, or the audience actually, a little bit about getting them to come back.
Well, it's you can't get them to come back unless you've done what you need to in the first two, which
Right.
is engage in the conversation.
Right.
You need to start the conversation and keep the conversation going. A lot of people, a lot of clients, they look at me like I have three heads. What do you mean by have a conversation?
It's a static
Right, it's a web
page.
But with the technology and the way it's going, my father would look at me like, what are you talking about? You talking to the computer now? No. But it is the conversation. You're by getting them to take action, you're getting them to sign up for something, purchase something. You're engaging. Once they've engaged, a lot of companies, that's where it'll stop.
Right.
Oh, God, we got an order.
Right.
We got them to do something. If you don't come back to them in some form or fashion, pick the phone up and say, thank you very much.
Is there anything else we can help you with?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. In fact, that's a big key, because a lot of people don't realize that we are human,
Right.
and we still like that human interaction.
Right.
Okay? So even though you got a digital order, by picking the phone up, you will stand out over somebody else that's just taking orders.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Absolutely.
Having some type of an email series, not to sell them something necessarily. That obviously is part of email series.
Is the end goal, right?
But to have the conversation, we're still here, and give them a little tidbit of information.
So that really speaks, and I don't remember where I learned this, but the number one way to increase the profit of your company is actually to increase the spend of your current customer base.
Right. It's easier to get a current customer to pull his wallet out than it is to go find somebody
to
new.
get a new customer. Yeah. Okay. So now that we've gotten an order, and that's one way, or we've just engaged them because we gave them a white paper. We talk about giving out white papers a lot, and I think even on your website, one of your focuses is give me your email and let's go from there. And that's one of the things that we do also. We have a free website analysis. It's a 6-point website analysis. It's still free. You can get that, by the way. I'm going to throw a plug in here. You can get that by going to our website and then clicking SEO. And on the first paragraph, we encourage you to call us. We'll answer the phone and do an analysis for you. Great. Or at the bottom of that first paragraph is a little link to a form. And I think you would probably argue that form needs to be more prominent so that it can engage. We're always playing with stuff, right? So we're like, oh, well, we'd really like them to call us.
Well, and that's a good point, what you said. You said needs to be more prominent. You're always
tweaking it and thinking of.
You never should stop testing.
Yeah.
Testing is not a point of arrival.
Right.
It's a journey until the business stops.
Right.
In other words, is it going to pull better having the form here, or a link to the form here, or whatever you're trying to get them to engage in?
Right.
Is testing. There's ways to do that, where you're not reinventing the wheel every time too.
And I think one of the things on your website you talk about, in fact, it might even be in here, where you're doing the A to B comparison.
A/B split testing.
A/B split testing, where Google mentions in that they had they did an A/B split test for Picasso, which is their. I don't know if you read the article, or maybe they changed the literature. So in promoting their A/B split testing, they're like, here's one thing that we did, and we did it for our Picasso software. And I don't remember the detail. I'm sure you could just go out there and Google it. But they changed the link, like free versus software now or something. And it was the non-obvious one. It was the one that didn't say free that actually got more people to actually download the Picasso software. So those are, a lot of users are, and what free yesterday getting lots of clicks may not mean that free today gets lots of clicks. So there's probably a reason to
And it depends on